Hey guys, this is Lindsay here with Little Helpful Files. I'm so excited to be with you guys today. We normally do cash budgeting, mini savings, and life in general, all through the glory and by the grace of God. And I've had a couple of requests from you guys in terms of Etsy tips and just thoughts. So I thought this would be a great idea to just go through a couple different things that I've learned and maybe things, tips, ideas, suggestions that I would encourage you guys to think on before opening up your Etsy shop. So if this is something that you're interested in, please stay tuned. And if you would subscribe to my channel, if you like this type of content, I so appreciate it. And make sure to leave me a comment below. I'd love to say hey. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to kind of go through. I have a couple notes here. So if you see me looking down, that is what I'm referencing and looking at. So first and foremost, it is really exciting when you kind of start thinking about what you want to be doing, if this is a side hustle or maybe something that you're looking into doing full time. I highly encourage you guys to go to the Lord in prayer. That is my first step. That is my first piece of advice or tip. When you are thinking about embarking on something new, or maybe you feel like, led to open up an Etsy shop, depending on what your item is, I encourage you to just make sure that this is where the Lord wants you right now. Make sure that this is the best place to be using your resources, your time, and your energy, because it is going to, require some effort to be put in for it to actually be worth it or be successful. So that is my first step, okay? The second thing would be to make sure that you know your niche. Make sure you know what type of products you want to do, and there are a lot of categories and different items that are oversaturated. That doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't do it. You just have to make sure that you know what maybe would set yours apart or what would be a little bit different that you bring to the table. I don't encourage, obviously, copying other people. I don't think that that's right, but we all have to understand that everybody's is going to be similar, right? Like everything is already kind of done and out there. There's really nothing new under the sun, as it talks about in Ecclesiastes. So I think we have to understand that, what we do, yes, somebody else may already be doing it, but if we offer or bring something a little bit different to the table, that could be a really great way to capture maybe that smaller target audience within that. So make sure that you kind of have studied that, see that, what are your potential competitors doing, and what does that look like? Now, before you actually go into opening the Etsy shop, I would also encourage you guys to just make sure that you know what Etsy is going to entail. And by that, I mean they take a pretty high percentage of fees. So as long as you're okay with that, obviously you are tapping into their marketplace. So we kind of have to, take the good with the bad, right? Like you're gonna have to pay our fees, but you also don't have to work as hard then to get eyes on your shop. I used to run a boutique and a business, and I created my own website, and it was really, really hard to get the website out there and visible. It takes a lot of marketing and really good SEO and really good keywords and all of those things, and it's a lot of time. And I would just say that I see the benefits to both. I see the pros to having your own website, but also to having a place like Etsy where it is a marketplace that's already existing. So like I said, there are high fees. I think right now it's about 30% from what I've kind of gathered. And then also you have to think about shipping or any marketing and then taxes. So am I doing Etsy to make money and make a huge profit? Absolutely not. This was something that the Lord led me to do. I really didn't know what I was going to be doing once my business closed. And God just kind of showed this whole vision, this whole idea, this whole, platform, with Etsy, with YouTube, with Little Helpful Files. He revealed it all to me. It was very organic. It was very led and driven by God. So when I decided to do Etsy and decided to put these items up there, it was more because I wanted to help and encourage other people. And it was more to give people some great tools and resources at a really affordable price. So I'm not doing that to provide a living for myself right now. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool. I do some other part-time here and there whenever I can find time to do it. So I really wanted Etsy to just be something that was kind of there to help people, that was kind of automated and working and running on its own, which is why you see a lot of digital items on my shop. It's, you know, it's not something that's going to bring in a ton of money for me. So I'm giving you these tips and tricks, not because I have figured it out, not because I'm making thousands and thousands of dollars on Etsy, just because I feel that I've, you know, learned a few different things. And if this was something I was going to do full time, I would highly encourage you guys to kind of go through these different things and tips. So the first would be making sure that you have consistency across your brand. So what I mean by that is whatever you're going to name your shop, whatever you want your brand to look like, I would make sure that that's consistent on all platforms that you choose to use. I don't really think that you should be on every single platform because I think that's overwhelming. I think it's a lot to manage personally. So I decided to do YouTube, Pinterest, and Instagram. Those are, well, and then of course the Etsy page. Those are the areas that you can find Little Helpful Files. And so I tried to keep a consistency in terms of the logo, the look of it, the colors I use. I want it to be cohesive. And obviously I want it to be easily accessible. So when somebody is searching, I want them to be able to find it in each of those platforms. So that's why I say that like keeping the brand consistent is key. Keeping the brand name consistent is really important. The next would be making sure to fill out all of the info. So I personally think that this helps you, number one, to look more professional, but also number two, so that you are set up for success in the long run. So if this does become something that you really enjoy or that you're really good at or that you've gotten a lot of sales and traction and success from, it is so much easier to already have like your about me, your shop policies, return policies, any like, you know, important information, FAQs, have all of that already filled out. So that way, if something happens or if people come to you with some questions, you can reference those things that are already there. And again, I think it just takes some of the legwork out of having to do this later on because you already then have that set up. And if you become really busy and start taking a lot of orders, you're not going to have time to go back and do some of those more tedious things. So I really, really encourage that when you're kind of setting it up, when you're looking through and you're choosing to go on Etsy, make sure that you've got everything filled out at the best that you can, at least. And you can always tweak that later as you learn more and as you find more. The other part would be making sure to have really good photos. So whether this be photos that you are using, like if for me, I have digital items, so a lot of my photos are digital created content. Or if you are going to be taking your own photos, just try to make sure that they are really easy to see the item, that they're really clear and concise, and again, consistent. I think consistency across the shop is important. So whatever your kind of style or aesthetic is that you want to do, I would keep that with your items because I think then again, it creates your brand presence and it's going to allow people to know that those items are yours. The next thing I would recommend is when it comes to updating items. I personally think it's really good if you can kind of maintain adding new items regularly. So it seems to pull better in the Etsy search if you are constantly putting on new content, if you're constantly adding in new items. So let's say you have like maybe 50 items that you want to do. I would probably only list like maybe 10 at a time. And then if you can continue to add those items or increase your item selection over time, I do think that that also helps. Now, if you have something that is more selective and you don't have that breadth of items, that's okay too. I would still make sure that you're constantly kind of going in and updating things in Etsy, because I do notice that changes my sales. Like if I'm not in Etsy, if I'm not using it for a period of time, I do feel like my sales tend to slow down. So Etsy just wants to see that you're consistent, that you're showing up, that you're treating this as a business. And really that's one of the big things, like treating this as a business, even if it ends up being a hobby, even if it's something you just do kind of in your side pastime, maybe you have a full-time job. I do think that it is still good to treat this like its own business. I think that, if you're gonna take the time to set it up, if you're gonna take the time to put items there, the best thing to do is to give it 100% of your effort. And, if through all of this you see or find that this is not what you want to be doing, like I said, you could always try doing your own website. Just be prepared that you're gonna probably have to market and really work at the keywords and the SEO a lot harder to get that visibility. So I pray that this video blessed you guys. I pray that it gave you some encouragement, tips, and just some really good things to think about. And I pray that if you do choose to do Etsy, that you have all the success and that it is what you had hoped for. And if this is not the route that you feel maybe God's calling you, I pray that you will continue to just let Him lead and seek Him through all things. He is so faithful and so good to lead you and guide you and help you through. Again, I don't think that Etsy is for everyone. I don't think that it is always the best option. So, maybe that is looking into your own website and kind of finding different ways and different platforms to promote it and go from there. But either way, just remember to go to the Lord in prayer, take it to Him, and trust. He is so, so good to lead and guide. Trust in Him in all things. I pray you guys have a wonderful day, and I thank you guys so much for all the support here. I love being able to connect with you guys, and I will look forward to talking to y'all in a video soon. All right, God bless. Bye.